welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad and the Odd, with your host, Michael Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hello there.
So this is a Daisy Daisy, your pick. The last Daisy Daisy was the producers. Tell us what you've picked and who the connection is.
Okay, so my Daisy Daisy is Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And the connection was that the guy that played the Nazi in Producers has like a bit role in it.
Well, he's a marshal. He's only in one scene. He's only one scene. But yeah. So first watch for you, this is it?
Yeah, first watch. I was quite surprised because I've heard a lot about it. Like I knew what the ending was beforehand, because that's like arguably one of the most iconic endings of all time.
It is, yes. So, I agree with that. Yeah, it's an interesting film.
I'm surprised about how little plot there actually was.
Yeah, it's a fairly relaxed film. It's a buddy movie. Right?
It's a shenanigans movie.
Yeah.
Like they keep trying different stuff, and it just always goes wrong in a very funny way.
And it's kind of hard to think of many before this, apart from like the outright comedy duos. You know, like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, or Laura and Hardy, or Abbott and Costello. In terms of, there's not that many buddy movies like this. So it's kind of interesting. I haven't seen this film in about 20 odd years. Some of the scenes I remember, like, I watched them yesterday, definitely. Particularly in the beginning and the end. The middle bit was way vaguer for me.
That really intense poker game?
I remember that. Yeah. What did you think of that? Because I remember...
I was like, okay, this is quite a serious film.
Yeah.
I knew Raindrops was in the soundtrack. I was like, okay, this is kind of intense. With him, like, he's like, how good are you? And he shoots the pistol off his belt and then shoots it across the floor.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay, he's really good. And then they kind of just sort of bum around for the next.
It starts
hour and a half.
Interesting opening, because it starts with showing like old timey Western movies, like silent era Western movies in sepia. Don't know, not even black and white, sepia. And then the scene you just described is in sepia.
Yeah, and then it cuts to colour
as they ride into the desert, right? Or into the mountains. Yeah, now that scene...
It is like watching Wizard of Oz, or it's like the really quite intense, like, this woman is trying to steal a girl's dog, and then the Munchkins in colour.
Yeah. It's a bit like that. It's really not... There's another scene a bit more that's intense as well, a bit later on, but this is quite different from the rest of and the film's kind of like that. It kind of changes gears quite a bit here and there, but mostly it's fun buddy stuff, right? Butch and Sundance just goofing about in many respects. So Butch is like the friendly one who's not really a shooter.
It's a face and a shooter, really.
Yeah, and Sundance. So. I have to say, I'm not a fan of Robert Redford, but I really think he's really good as Sundance Kid, actually.
I don't think I've seen him much.
No, you see American...
I know he was in Captain America.
I'm going to say Winter Soldier 2. He was all right in that. He was in All the President's Men. Oh, have we covered that? I can't remember if we covered that. Oh, okay, my mistake. No, I've never really liked him much, but I do like him as Sundance Kid. But Paul Newman I really like in all sorts of things. Paul Newman's very affable, and he plays Butch as just a friendly bloke, doesn't he? Who kind of likes people. He's even gets friendly with the people he's robbing, and things like that.
Yeah, I like his interactions with what's his name on the train. The guy that's like, I work for the
Woodcock, is it, or something?
Yeah, it's like, Woodcock, why'd you do that? Now I have to like blow the door off.
Woodcock, and all that. Just going back to the opening scene, though, it is quite different from the rest of the film, and it kind of feels a bit like Tarantino. Tarantino's really good at certain scenes, and it makes them super tense. And it kind of reminded me of a proto-Tarantino-esque kind of scene of, the bloke basically calls Sundance a cheat, and he's prepared to gunfight with him, and he says, "You're leaving the money, or you're both dead. You're dead." And then when Butch comes in, he says, "No, let's go." And he says, "You're both dead." And he come on, Sundance. He goes, "You're the Sundance Kid. If I draw on you, you'll kill me." He goes, "That's a possibility." And I like how still Sundance is. You notice Sundance does not move. He's just poised, ready to draw.
Ready.
And he ain't messing about. And But as soon as the bloke says, "Why don't you?" Because Butch says, "Just ask us to stay. That's all." But Sundance said he's got to ask us to stay. It's all that, and it's a really good scene, but not like anything else in the film. Really.
No, it's this really intense. Like the man they're talking to is dead if he does anything other than tell them they can stay.
Now, apparently, the man they're talking to, and I cannot see it at all. It does not look like him to me. That is Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott, the guy that's always got the moustache.
The guy that's the Western. So.
And he narrates The Big Lebowski, and that guy. It does not look like him at all. Oh. He just looks different with a moustache, maybe. I don't know. There is another slightly intense scene quite early in the film where this woman comes into her house and Sundance is just sitting there, and he basically points a gun at her and forces her to start undressing. And it looks kind of rapey, doesn't it? And
I was like, oh God, please don't be one of those 60s movies where this is like
okay, or
yeah, and then like no, it's they're just messing around. So
basically, right at the end of the scene, he grabs her and she says, "I wish you'd turn up on time," or something like that. And it's a love. They're lovers.
Yeah,
right? They're lovers.
Yeah.
And then we get the goofy raindrops keep falling on your head where Butch is bought up. Oh, yeah, we got to mention Kenneth Mars, right? He's the marshal trying to rustle up a posse to go. And the guys are just sitting in a brothel across the road watching.
Yeah, they're watching them from a balcony, just listening to how he's trying to pitch this.
He goes, "Do any of you need guns?" And they're all standing there, and they're like, "Do you want any of you? Have you got your own guns?" No one's. And again, we could chase them to the hole in the wall. He goes, "They're most half the way there now, and there's no point, and they'll kill us if we catch up with them anyway. There's no point." And then this bloke goes, "I've got something to say." He stands up and he starts selling bicycles to the crowd.
Yeah.
And so the marshal's totally.
Like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, "Well, you kind of did half my job here, so I'm just going to take advantage of this." So.
And that's how Butch gets. I mean, it's set at the turn of the century, 1900 kind of.
This is very much a sort of Death of the West kind of film.
I mean, we don't see them, but we see photos. There's a montage sequence later. We see photos of cars.
Montages.
Yeah. So we know it's that kind of era. And this basically Butch obviously buys a bicycle because he gets up in the morning and he shows her his bicycle.
He's like riding around just going
grinning and then he takes her for a ride and he's showing off and stuff like that, and we get raindrops keep falling. It's good. What did you think of this sequence?
It was so jarring after the train robbery, the inter-gang fight, and the poker game.
Was it after that? I thought it was before the fight. My mistake. Let's go back to the hole in the wall fight.
So Robert Redford, Butch Cassidy, basically walks back into camp and he goes, hey guys, I got a plan. And they go, "Yeah, well, you're not in charge of us anymore." He goes,
it's Harvey. Yeah, Harvey. Played by Ted Cassidy, who is Lurch from the Addams Family TV show.
He's huge. So.
Yeah, Harvey. And it makes me laugh. He says, "Guns or knives, Butch?" He goes, "Well, I don't want to fight with gun. I don't want to draw a gun at you." Harvey goes, "Oh, knives." He pulls out a massive knife.
Yeah, he pulls out like a machete.
And they also says, "Sundance, you're welcome in the gang after I've killed him." And Butch goes, "Do me a favour, if he kills me, shoot him dead." He goes, "It'd be my pleasure." And then he waves affably at Harvey like everything's okay. That made me laugh. That did make me laugh. And I like the whole thing, He goes, he goes, "First, let's get out the rules." And Harvey's like, "There's no rules in a knife fight." So Butch kicks him right in the bollocks as soon as he says that, and sort of beats him down. Right, just and
it's like, good, we can establish that. So.
Yeah, and there's various people like Flat Nose Curry and Noose? Was a guy called Noose or something like that? Or
there was a bunch of names, but they don't really appear for the rest of the film.
No.
They appear for a couple more minutes, and then that's it. Apparently, the real gang, the Sundance Kid and Kid Curry, often get conflated because Sundance never actually, as far as it's known, has never actually killed anyone, but Kid Curry definitely liked killing people.
Okay. So Flat Nose Curry, yeah. Sorry, his name was, excuse me, not Noose, it was News, because he was reading, he kept all these newspaper clippings and read them out. And they're like saying, no, stop. And he's going, no, I haven't got to the good bit. And he carries on reading. They're kind of a goofy bunch, right?
Yeah. And I was expecting them to be in a lot more of the movie, but they're just not. So
and the whole
it is very much
was
about Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Yeah.
So.
And I have to mention screenplay by William Goldman. I think he won an Oscar for it, and he famously writes some really good screenplays.
That's pretty surprise.
Yeah, indeed. He's quite a well-regarded screenwriter, and he wrote this and won the Oscar for it. And it's kind of a friendly romp through the West. It's almost a comedy, right? I mean, it's funny. But
he's very much a comedy. So.
Apparently, he read this history of these two guys and was kind of got obsessed. And he couldn't be bothered to write. He was going to do a novel, but he thought, the research, So he thought he'd try and do something that's a rough approximation of how they. And I think that there's a title at the beginning. Most of what you see is true.
Yeah, that's
not
a very
that it matters or something like that.
To put. So.
Yeah. But Harvey's had this plan to rob a train going out and on the way back because no one ever robs one on the way back. And so they figure the security below and Butch, after beating up Harvey, says, that's a good idea, we're going to do that. Yeah. And they meet Woodcock both times, who will not let them in, so they have to blow the doors off.
Yeah, on the first time, they grab some old lady who's like swearing and hollering, and she's got such a raspy voice that Butch pretends to be her for a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of pretending to be, tortured. So.
Yeah, and so Woodcock opens the door to Butch smiling at him, doing the voice. Yes.
Yeah.
But they've robbed this bloke so much, he gets super pissed off and plays like this super posse to start hunting him down.
He basically figures out, the best trackers, lawmen and such in the country, and gets them, pays them on indefinitely to hunt Butch Cassidy and the Hole in the Wall gang.
Yeah, and there's an Indian tracker called Lord something who can track people on anything.
Yeah.
I can't remember. But there's also a guy that's a relentless lawman called LaFours.
Yeah, Lord Baltimore.
Who doesn't wear a cowboy hat, wears a white straw boater kind of hat. Yeah. They call it a skimmer, but a boater. So, and they kind of see these people in the gang the posse far off, and they go over rock. He goes, you can't track over rock. He goes, tell them that. And things like that.
I like it. They're sitting there sort of watching them, and it's do you remember when we heard that story about that guy who could track anything? It was an Indian, but he had an English name. They're yeah. It's what's that guy lying on the ground? And then he basically looks in their direction, seems to look in their direction.
Yeah.
It's him. And then they run.
And they kind of give themselves away at one point because they're looking from the rocks, but suddenly there's this tiny noise behind them, and Sundance just reacts instinctively and shoots a rattler off the wall. Even on the way down, he carries on shooting it. But they obviously let them know that they're there when you fire a gun in the middle of nowhere, right? So they're basically trapped at the end, aren't they? They says, well, we can either try and fight them and maybe die, or we can... and then Butch goes, we can jump! He goes, and they're at a massive gully with water, at the bottom, a river, and he goes, I'm not jumping. And they start talking about it, and he goes, I'm not jumping. And Butch keeps going on about going to Bolivia, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah.
In the conversations. And he goes... And basically, Sundance says, I can't swim. And he goes, hell, the fool will probably kill ya.
Yeah.
So they just jump off and get away that way. But they know that whatever they do, they also, there's a couple of other bits. They hole up at the brothel briefly. Oh, I should have mentioned there's a bit in the hole at the brothel. And he gets a girl called Agnes. Butch grabs a girl called Agnes. Did you recognise her at all?
No.
Cloris Leachman, who played Frau Blucher.
Oh, okay.
I didn't recognise her. I recognised her voice.
Did not recognise her at all.
I thought that sounds like Cloris Leachman, and it just seemed so atypical. I was quite surprised, and then when I looked it up, Cloris Leachman as Agnes. I was quite shocked, but interesting, right? So kind of connects to Mel Brooks.
Yeah,
Weird, isn't
totally.
it? Yeah, I could pick a Mel Brooks off of this if I wanted, based on Clarissa Lynch, but we'll see. Yeah, so they managed to elude them, but they're always going to be hunted, right? And so they do decide to go to Bolivia. And then we get this extended montage of first still pictures.
Oh, it's so long.
It's too long. Well, I didn't mind it when it was still pictures and it was kind of old-timey music, you know, piano-y kind of stuff. But then it evolved into a scat song, you know, a ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, all this.
Yeah.
With them
sort of like...
doing stuff in Bolivia. First they arrive and look disappointed and doing stuff in banks, but not robbing them, but kind of look like they're setting up bank accounts. And it just went on and on. So we couldn't hear any dialogue. And it was like...
Honestly, it felt like they just made a trailer and put it in the middle of the film.
It was so weird.
Using unused footage.
Yeah, so. I think this was a horrible bit of filmmaking, to be honest. I didn't mind the montage of them in New York and getting on a steamer because the music sounded appropriate. But when it transferred to a scat song and we were just seeing scenes where we could have just been listening to dialogue, it was weird. I did not like it. And I'd forgotten this bit. Maybe because who would remember this, right? It wasn't that memorable. Anyway, they're in Bolivia and they start learning Spanish. Goes with them.
Trying to learn Spanish
so they can say stick 'em up and where's the money and, you know, things like that. Yeah. Butch is better at than Sundance.
Sundance kind of knows Spanish, but he's not the face guy, so Butch has to learn Spanish.
Okay.
And then they have the bit where Butch is like reading off a sheet, telling them to put their hands up and get against the wall. But Sundance already has him against the wall and is shouting at Butch for telling them that. Yeah. And he's like, hell, I don't need this. And they just walk out.
Yeah. And they're basically robbing banks. And there is one scene that I should have mentioned right at the beginning that made me laugh where Butch goes into a bank and there's all these shutters and locks and things. He goes, what happened to the old bank? He goes, it was too easy to rob. He goes, but it was beautiful. He goes, whoa, it kept getting robbed. He goes, that's a small price to place for me, which is why they turn to trains, isn't it? And in the end, in Bolivia, they start going back to banks, don't they? They're a lot easier.
Yeah, they have to switch back,
and they get a reputation as the Bandidos Yankees.
Bandidos Yankees.
Yeah.
Basically they try to go legitimate for a while
because they see someone with a white skimmer and they think the force is still on the case, and they're saying, "Well, the next time he goes, well, Etta Place is like, he can't kill you here. There's no extradition. You haven't done, you know." And he goes, "Next time we do a job, he's going to track us down and kill us." And he says, "Well, what happens if we don't do a job?" So they decide to go straight, right?
Yeah.
And they get a scene with Strother Martin, who's got a very distinctive voice, as this bloke that runs a mine. And it's funny, isn't it? He wants to test Sundance's shooting abilities. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So Sundance can't shoot for shit when he has to aim down the gun. But he says, stand there and shoot it. And he goes, can I move? He goes, what do you mean, can you move? He goes, oh. And he just does his, fanning and shoots his rock all over the place. He goes, I'm better at, I shoot better when I move. He goes, you shoot better when you move? Okay. This bloke's calling them more, and they're basically going down towards the Collector Watsons, and they're like casing it. He goes, look, there's a place. And he goes, morons! My employees are morons, this place. Like
they won't rob us now because there's no money to rob.
Yeah.
So.
But the first journey back, they get robbed, and he gets shot dead.
He immediately gets shot, and they basically just take the payroll and run. So
well, they throw the pay away to the bandits, don't they? And leg it out.
And they decide to go back.
And kill all the bandits. Butch is trying to talk Spanish to the money. That's not our money, it's our employees. Which sounds a bit like Woodcock. He's parroting what Woodcock said at the beginning, right? And they realise they can't go straight, basically. And then...
the girlfriend leaves.
Yeah, she says, I'm going back home.
I missed that scene. Like, I gotta be honest. I was the entire ending. I was like, oh man, I wonder what's going to happen to her now. And then then I reread a plot summary, and I just missed the scene.
They were in. She was in bed with Sundance, and she said, "I'm going to go back ahead of you." Well, there is an earlier scene that sort of presages this.
She does like tell them it's like I won't watch you die.
I'll do anything for you, but I'm not going to watch you die. And then she knows they're going to die if they're doing any real bank robberies, so she's like, "I'm going to go back ahead of you." Okay, and okay, so they do one last job. But they take the donkey the payroll is on, don't they?
Yeah.
And they get to Small Town. But a boy sees the brand on the donkey.
He recognises the donkey, basically.
And goes to the police. And Butch and Sundance are just sitting at a table, aren't they, eating, and suddenly a bam! And like half the table explodes with a gunshot, and they kind of leg it, and they start moving from building to building, harassing each other, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
I thought you could shoot, I thought you could run.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they're wounded, but they're sort of saying, and Butch goes,
they like duck into a building, and it's, got a plan, Australia. Right.
Australia.
Sure.
Nah, well, Sundance is like, I'm never listened to again, ever. Your ideas are terrible.
And 2 seconds later, so Australia, right?
Australia, because I'll think about it. However, they've been pinned down by the police, but the police the Bolivian army are passing or something, and they all rock up with their rifles pointing. They're basically totally outgunned, and they don't know it, right? So they think we've got to make a run for it, and we get the iconic scene of them running out and the free frame and shots, and the fuego, innit? Fire, boom, 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 all this, and then it fades back to sepia, interestingly. And then we get the end credits. Yeah. So, very famous ending. Very famous ending. And some interesting character work. But it's almost a set of scenes rather than a film, isn't it?
Yeah, there is an absence of, joint plot. There's overall circumstance, but not, a driving plot.
Yeah.
It's like they get to Bolivia and they kind of hang around for a bit. They try to go legitimate, but it doesn't really work. Yeah. So they just end up doing other stuff.
Yeah. Apparently, loads of executives reject the script the first time, and the reasoning is John Wayne doesn't run away because they ran away to Bolivia. He goes, John Wayne doesn't run away, so they didn't like it. Apparently one was interested and asked for a script change, but apparently Goldman only changed a couple of pages, and then for some reason all the studios started wanting it. And apparently in the frame it was originally Steve McQueen was going to be Sundance, but somehow he fell out with Paul Newman, and then Robert Redford came in. Steve McQueen would have been okay, but I actually think Robert Redford does a really good job here. So that was interesting. And Warren Beatty also was in the running, but he felt it was a bit too much like Bonnie and Clyde, which he did a couple of years before, which is fairly violent and similar kind of everyone dies at the ending. So, fair enough. But apparently Redford hated the raindrops keep falling in your head, but later on he said, no, it worked fine. But I don't think anyone particularly likes it. I mean,
I can kind of understand that, just because it's such a weird kind of out of nowhere bit and song.
Yeah. There's one criticism that made me laugh very much. Someone said, it goes, "What? This is a schizophrenic film. One moment they're sinewy, battered remnants of a discarded tradition. Next, they're low comedians whose chafing relationship and dialogue could have been lifted from a Batman and Robin episode." Yeah. Oh, that's a bit strong. I think they were better than that.
That's pretty funny, though.
Yeah, and also the scat singing bit someone described as absurd and anachronistic. Now, I kind of get using more modern music, and the whole thing this was like one of the first films to do it, so it must have felt really odd. However, I was thinking about this. Where did this use of music in films become so prominent in terms of songs? I think it started with The Graduate, with Simon and Garfunkel. I think it was 1967. Probably. And then I was thinking about it. Then there were lots of, and I think because of the success of this film, there then became lots of films that had sort of more modern songs. And we had one recently, Lust for a Vampire, that weird mental song. in the middle of that movie, if you watch Kelly's Heroes, there's like there's a sort of pop, a more modern song in the credits. MASH has it, the film MASH. Suicide is Painless. So I think it became a bit of a thing in the early 70s. But Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head, I think he won an Oscar for that. I think that was like best song or something. Goldman definitely won an Oscar. I'm just looking at it. But Baccarat won best original score for a motion picture that's not a musical. And it won best song for Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head. It's a memorable song. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, some interesting stuff. And also, BAFTAs it won the best film and best direction. George Roy Hill won both best film and best direction from the BAFTAs. So that's kind of it. And Catherine Ross won best actress for the BAFTAs as well.
Okay.
So the BAFTAs really liked it. And it was kind of a fun film. You kind of see. However, like I say, I've watched it a few times. Always remember the beginning and the end of fights with Harvey, the train robberies, and the end bit's quite impactful, but the middle bit, and even the bicycle, Raindrops, that's memorable. The rest, the middle kind of, I think that super long montagey thing in the middle just is not good filmmaking.
It kills the pace so much.
It does. It should have came right back. As soon as it transitioned to scat, that whole thing should have been cut, I would have thought, right up until they start talking again. And do something else to show him being. I mean, it does show him arriving and saying, "Is this it?" in this shithole Garrett train station, right? Interesting because spaghetti westerns were out this time. They didn't go like spaghetti western. They stayed to more traditional western kind of approach. But interesting. Decent though. Any final thoughts?
Nothing extra I can really think of. I'm glad I saw it, but I really don't think I'll be watching it again too quickly because, like I said, there's no real plot. It felt more like it would have been a good TV show, to be frank.
Yeah, there is a couple of spin-offs of it. There was a film made in the 80s called Butch and Sundance: The Early Years. So you see them as younger versions of themselves. I think that was about it. And I believe there's a TV movie about at a place after Butch and Sundance get killed with Elizabeth Montgomery, who plays Samantha in Bewitched. I don't know if you know that. But she gets news that maybe it wasn't Sundance, maybe it was Flatnose Curry got killed with Butch. So she's trying to figure out if Sundance is still alive. But I remember watching it. I don't remember anything about it other than, this is interesting. It's kind of leading on from Butch and Sundance, but I don't remember the film. I've seen it, but I don't remember anything about it. So there is a few things. But it was kind of fun, wasn't it? I think you don't have to watch it very often because the really good stuff you just remember. Yeah. Almost verbatim. It's that good. Whereas the other stuff is who cares? It's a bit like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. How would you rate this one?
I would rate this a good 8 out of 10. 8
out of 10. Yeah, I think that's a fair score. I'd agree with that. 8 out of 10 seems reasonable. So all right. Let's wind up there. So next time, it'll be my choice on the Daisy. So in a month or so, I'll make a decision.
Robert Redford or a Paul Newman film?
Yeah, Robert Redford and Cloris Leachman. There's a few other I like Strover Martin and stuff as well. But I have got an idea of what I want to do. But I want to think about it for a bit. But we'll see. All right then. Let's wind up there then. So bye from me.
Bye.